Good morning. We will open up the December 3rd, 2024 Williams County Commission meeting to order. And this morning, we will have the two newly elected commissioners read their oaths of office. Steve? Thank you, Chris.
I, Chris Wallstead of Williston, North Dakota, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of North Dakota, and will faithfully discharge its duties of office of Williams County, according to the best of my ability, so help me God, under the pains and according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Now I'll take roll call. Barry?
Here.
Corey?
Here.
Steve?
Here.
Bo?
Here.
Chris?
Yes, here.
Okay, now it's time for the reorganization of the board. I will ask for nominations for chairman. Do I have any, do I have any nominations for chairman?
I'd like to nominate Corey Hansen for chair.
I'll second.
Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Okay, do we have a motion to cease nominations and cast a unanimous ballot?
So moved.
Or- Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
done.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, guys. Right now, we're going to need two nominations for vice chair. Is there any nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Anderson as vice chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further nominations for vice chair? No further nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, would somebody be interested in casting a unanimous ballot for Commissioner Anderson to be vice chair?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ramberg, second. Motioned and second. Roll call vote, please.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Motion carried. Now we'll get back into the agenda. Let's go ahead and stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Okay, item C, consent agenda. What are the wishes?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
So motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes. Motion carried. Item D is public comment. If there's anyone here that is not on the agenda that has a public comment, now is the time. I don't see anything. We're going to go into new business, the appeal from Teton Digital. Please go ahead and state your name for the record.
Sure. Morning, Commissioners. My name is Scott Bennett. I'm the CEO of Teton Digital, and I did hand out a packet to you guys earlier, and Beth, I'm not sure if we were able to get the presentation up today or, no, okay. Well, I do have a presentation in front of you. I won't run you through, I guess, the whole thing. We're really here to appeal to make sure that we can apply for a CUP. Is really the crux of why we're here, but I did want to take the time, introduce ourselves, our company, and what our high-level plans are. So, if you do have that packet in front of you with a deck there, I'll just kind of run through that, and apologize we couldn't get the PowerPoint up today. That's it, correct. So we are Teton Digital. We are a data center company. Infrastructure is, we really do greenfield sites. So we kind of find good locations to develop these sort of sites, and we develop the relationships. We work with the utilities, commissioners, community, everybody involved to build it from the ground up. We've been doing this for a while now, and Teton Digital has a couple other companies that have done this and is very focused in the space. So this is, I'll make no mistake, this is Bitcoin mining. This is, but it is developing into other verticals within the data center space. So AI, traditional data center, co-location, et cetera. And we very much see that playing out in this project that we're proposing to you here. So Teton Digital, it's founded Skate Ventures, Skate Labs. We are a family business here in the US of A. So, but I'll go into the project a little bit, just the high level of it. It's called Project Trinity, is what we're calling it. We would like to consider developing a 130 megawatt plus data center in Dry Fork, North Dakota here, just here in the county. The thing that we're doing that's a little different is this is kind of state of the art. This is liquid cooling. This is immersion cooling. I know that there's been issues in the past with noise concerns, and I'm sure we'll address those here today, and that's really why we're here today. But this is kind of a big new advancement in this technology. And it's really beneficial to everybody involved. So we'll get into some of those details here shortly. But right now, again, we're very high level, very early phase. There's a couple phases that we're considering. The first is to use initial power that could be available by MWEC. And we have their support in being here. They still have to go through their studies here. We're still very early in this process. But we would utilize initial capacity at an adjacent substation to this location. And then phase two would be probably year and a half, maybe even 2 years down the road, where we would build our own kind of company-owned substation that we would finance in coordination with MWEC to make sure it's all done properly and to their code. So I think, I believe you guys are pretty well aware of some of these data center projects coming in. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have or slow me down if I'm going too fast on some of these things. But I summarize some of the benefits of such a project such as this, such as demand response and curtailment, kind of strengthening the local grid, being able to respond to outages at a moment's notice when things get bad. I want to highlight kind of our long-term focus and how we're willing to kind of come here and do this green kind of grassroots approach, how we want to invest long-term into the substation and other infrastructure and do it right. And then there's a few other things listed here too, but I'll be the first to tell you there's not a ton of jobs that are created by this, but they are high quality jobs. They're probably different kind of jobs. And then we do a good job of kind of spreading our roots, and we'd like to partner with as many people in the community as we can. So I'll skip ahead a little bit to the proposed site location, if you can find that page, just so everybody's aware. I do have the coordinates there, and I believe it's a location that some of the commissioners here have kind of seen before or aware of it. If you go to the next page, there's a kind of why this site location was chosen. And it's really because of its proximity to existing MWEC substations and power that's been somewhat indicated is available at that substation. It's also been said that this is a good location to expand and build our own substation and connect to their substation there. It's really tough to see from these pictures, but the natural contour of the land there is really unique to this site. And really, unless you're there and see it, it could be a really big kind of noise mitigation area or place to put a project. So there is roughly 25, 50, 75 feet that we are below the surface of the surrounding area. And that will help significantly as we aim to make this a quiet or regular industrial operation. So I'll kind of get right to where, kind of why we're here is the noise, right? I kind of spoke to it a little bit about the land there. That's a big advantage there, but one thing that we're doing differently, and we do want to attack it head on here, is we are using liquid-cooled, immersion-cooled equipment. And the way that that's different is the actual servers that we use do not have fans on them. As opposed to some of these other data centers that I think you folks have seen before, all the servers have really small fans on them to make quite a bit of noise, 90-ish decibels or so, which is kind of like a lawnmower or a tractor. Where these servers that we're talking about, it's much more of a more common industrial noise, because the only thing that you hear is actually the coolers that cool them, which is outside the data centers, which just kind of your industry standard cooler that's probably used for all sorts of industries. And those decibel ratings are much closer to about 60. It can get up to 70 right at the source, but it's a much lower pitch and a lot more, I guess, favorable to what we're trying to do in terms of, we don't want to make a lot of noise. So I'm kind of running through the slides a little quickly here, but I'm on the slide that's proximity to sensitive locations, just to hit that head on. We are within, or I guess we have 3 locations that we've identified that are should be listed as sensitive properties that are within 1 mile of this property location. So I just wanted to call those out right away. And there's a couple more slides, again, more on kind of hitting home the liquid immersion versus the air-cooled sort of stats and comparisons, and kind of illustrates what we're doing there. But I will let you guys kind of flip through that. But that's really the crux of what we're trying to do.
As far as the liquid cooling, is that some sort of dielectric material? Is it oil? Is it?
That's a good question. So for immersion, yes. Immersion is a little different than liquid in that you actually take the server and physically put it into, it's like a dielectric fluid or an oil. Yes, that is oil, or immersion. Liquid cooling is more just a water loop through a cooler that is glycol. It's like a glycol water, which very, very typical in really any industrial sort of thing where you're trying to keep the temperature low. But there are environmental things to definitely think about if we did something like immersion. I know this project we are leaning more liquid, but we are keeping the door open to immersion. But good question.
Okay.
And there's a question of mine, this liquid that is used, is this circulated in and out? Is it continually used? Do you have to replace it? What do you do with the replacement? The waste, anything like that?
Yeah, good question. So the immersion fluid, again, going back to, that's dielectric fluids, that is an oil. That has a shelf life of roughly 5 years. So it just constantly circulates, and sometimes you throw additives into it just to make sure it's still performing as it should. But that generally has about a 5-year lifespan. Now for the liquid cooling, that is a water glycol loop, so much more kind of standard and again, kind of all in a lot of industries. I'm less familiar about the shelf life of that. I don't think that needs to be maintained as much, and again, is a lot more standard.
So if those liquids are ever replaced, what do you do with the waste liquid?
Yeah, there's recycling programs, so you can you take it off-site, and there's places that will accept it for the immersion fluid specifically.
How many total acres is your site looking at? I mean, it looks like you're purchasing the whole property.
It's a piece, I believe, of that property, yes. There's other surrounding property owned by the landowner there. But that parcel, for now, the first phase and second phase are supposed to be 25 acres. I believe that one's a little bit more in that picture.
Because, I mean, I would assume the only reason you're here is because you don't meet the distance requirements in our zoning regulation, correct?
That's correct.
Cameron, do you have anything to add?
Yep. Good morning, Commissioners. Cameron Heimer, Development Services. Yes, Mr. Bennett did a pretty good job, I think, at explaining the project in of itself. On October 8th, 2024, staff did conduct a pre-app with the applicant and found that they didn't meet the 1 mile sensitive property setback as required in our ordinance, as well as possibly the 3 miles setback from an existing data center. However, it is important to note that we have not received an application yet for the data center that was approved by the board, not the data center itself, but to be able to apply by the board that is directly to the west. But I just wanted to make the board aware that there possibly could be another application coming through. It's important to note, though, that today's appeal is only for their ability to possibly apply for a CUP. If the board does approve their appeal, there will be a public hearing process for the CUP with much more detailed information as it moves forward. But today it was an appeal just because staff has to follow the ordinance, and the ordinance wouldn't allow them to apply with where it's situated. I did include a memo, it should be in your packet, and with an analysis of the property. But ultimately, staff, our recommendation with the heavy oil field traffic that's already in that area, including that the board in September of '24 already approved an additional company to apply for a CUP, we felt that the location would be appropriate within this appeal process to be able to move forward. And I had a couple of possible options if the board wanted to entertain those on moving forward. Our recommendation was option number 2, which would be to approve the appeal, allowing them to concurrently submit a zone change, CUP, and variance application for 1 mile reduced setbacks from sensitive property and a 3 mile reduced setback from a possible data center directly to the west.
Okay, has anybody got any other questions for Cameron?
So, yeah, excuse me. So if we were just, if we did go with option 2, so is that just gonna create a foot race between, these two companies and who gets to the board first, or?
Well, again, I'm not as familiar with their internal processes, but the company that was approved, that's Interfor Digital Valley LLC, they're pretty close. I think they only have, we do have everything now, so we should be seeing that application come through any day now. So and when I spoke with Mr. Bennett, he was aware that they're possibly a little bit of ahead, but again, it's, both of them would still have to go through a public hearing process with more details on the actual operations. And I guess I added that information in there about the 3 mile because I didn't want that to hold this group up, because we can only look at what's in front of us. And at the time this appeal was filed, we hadn't received the other company's official application, but we knew it was coming. And so I just wanted to include that today. That way they didn't have to redo this appeal process for the 3 mile as well.
So on, just so I understand it, the appeal that you're saying option 2, and that would take out the 3 mile also, or it would leave the 3 mile in?
So for option 2, it would also include them to be able to apply even with the 3 mile, not in conformity with the 3 mile setback.
So, exactly, I didn't know if I knew you asked if it was gonna be a foot race, and that's, I wanted
Sorry,
to make
I
sure.
probably didn't explain that very well. So it would cover the 1 mile and 3 mile setback issue to allow them to apply for a CUP.
And, Mr. Bennett, you said you guys haven't decided which kind of, you're either gonna use the immersion or the dialectic? I mean, you don't know which you're gonna use?
You know, we really are leaning liquid at this point. It's for a lot of reasons. These projects are very fluid, I will say that, so I don't want to sit here and tell you something that it won't be. We are leaning liquid. It's becoming a better technology. The cost makes more sense. It's a cleaner sort of setup.
And when you say liquid, you mean the glycol water
Glycol.
mixture as opposed to immersion, which is a dielectric oil.
That's correct.
What about, you said 60, 70 decibels is the sound. Does it change whether it's liquid or dialectic? I mean, is that a,
You know, it's the same coolers that are actually used, so it's really the same sound. And when I say 60, 70 decibels, that's right at the source. That's if you're standing right next to it, which 60, 70 decibels is, 50 to 60 is about a conversation like we're having here today. So it's not that loud. And then again, it's a more of an common industrial sound. Like, these are bigger coolers that I'm sure you guys have seen elsewhere with bigger fans, kind of lower pitch. So
So
it is a lot quieter than an air.
A large heat exchanger, basically,
Exactly.
and a much bigger fan, much lower pitch as opposed to the scream
It-
of the other ones. So
Correct.
And you did say, it's 25 acres?
It is, it's
And
25
on-
acres.
How come on the project details it says 50 acres? What am I missing here?
Is that on one of the one-pagers? or-
That's on this one right here.
Okay,
It's right at the top of the page. It says 50 acre land adjacent to Montreal Williams.
sure, that's not correct. It's 25 acres. Yeah, thank you.
And you were talking about the contour of the land. You're proposing if you were to do this, it would go down in that little draw?
We are, yes, we would preserve that contour as best we could. We would have to level it out a little bit, but we would use that natural contour as best we can.
I believe there's a pipeline that runs through there, that draw. I mean, because they'll have a setback, they'll have an easement and that, you'll have to have it set back from their easement, or is there enough room?
I believe so. I believe it's actually a little bit more adjacent to the property, but we are aware of the pipeline. Yeah, thank you.
Has anybody got any other questions?
I'm just kind of curious if this is liquid cooled and noise is not supposed to be so much of an issue with liquid cooled. Why did you bring up noise mitigation?
Yeah. I mean, these projects, it is. I mean, we know what liquid cooled is, and I've been in this business for just about 7-8 years now, so I'm very familiar with all the iterations of these technologies. We know that things come up, whether it be somebody close by, and there's other things we can do if that becomes a problem. We know that these projects are fluid. We don't anticipate there being issues, but if there are other methods that we can use to mitigate even further, whether it be more landscaping, putting up berms, going deeper. I don't foresee that we have to do that at all. But there are other tools in our toolbox, so to speak, should we need to do those.
Any other questions? Cameron, do you have anything to add?
Not unless there's any questions for me.
Okay, I know we did get a couple of letters, but I guess if there's anybody that has something that they would like to add, now would be the time. Please, if you're going to, please approach the mic. Mr. Bennett, I'll have you slide over.
Sure.
State your name and go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. My name is Carol Herbert. I'm from Bottineau, North Dakota. I own land well within the 1 mile perspective of where they wish to build this. Also, I want to make sure that the Commissioners know there is currently a foreclosure notice going on this property. I would also be one of those owners, and this would not be something in which I would put on, because you guys have dealt with these before. Over here in Williston, I don't know if any of you commissioners live over there. The noise is horrible. My eyes hurt when I've gone by there. It's horrible. I have relatives who have land across close proximity. They say their value is no longer there. I do not want that in my property. If I wish to retire, I don't want to have to put up with the kind of stuff that they have been putting up with here in Williston. The constant noise, the smell. You heard him talk about noise litigation. If it's going to go in the draw, that noise is going to go right through the draw. There are other, there's pipelines, there's all kinds of other oil equipment and stuff around that makes enough noise. We don't need to have that in my area. Don't want to have the smell. And yes, I may be building a home there within that mile, and I don't want to put up with that. I don't want my grandchildren to put up with it. I don't want my children to put up with that. It is currently now farmland. I don't want the land of it to be, the price to go down in any way, shape, and form, which has happened with this type of business in their surrounding area. I'm sure you're well aware. I have written a letter before. In there, I also included the names of the surrounding people that also do not want it there. My brother Daryl lives close by. He doesn't need to have that noise by his farm. He will not be moving off that farm. He is 71 years old. He doesn't have to put up with that. He isn't always the best of drivers. We don't need the increased traffic for him. It would be a big safety concern on that issue alone. He's had issues with oil trucks. I'm sure you're aware of that. But he does, that safety part alone, the noise issue, not needed. We don't need it in our little quiet area. When I retire, I don't want to have a big noisy construction type or whatever industrial type fans going on when I want to retire. I want to have peace and quiet. That's what's there now. That's what I want to continue. So, does anybody have any questions for me?
Just a question. You said it's peace and quiet right now, but I've heard conflicting information that there's quite a bit of industrial activity
There is
there.
industrial activity there, but where there is, where I would be placing my home, it would be away from that. Whereas if they build, it's gonna be closer to where I would be building my home. Any other questions?
Where is your property from this location?
I don't have the exact location. It is on the corner of, let's see, okay, I think.
It'd be the, go up, go straight up with
Straight
your
up.
cursor. No, yep,
Yep. There and then across the road from there, both of those are my properties. Yep. Yes. And then as you can see down there a little ways to the south is Daryl's farm. And across from that would be our grandparents' farm. And there's a quite possibility that someone might want to build on that farm, redo it. I have talked to people who have, may wish to purchase that from my aunt. And they may want to build, and the noise would go right straight to that house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Please state your name for the record.
Cindy Greenlee, representing Freisinger Family Trust. I guess I'm here, I live a couple miles outside of the proposed site that they're talking about, but the trust owns property within the mile. And I'm not so concerned about the noise where the mile is gonna come onto the Freisinger property. But my sister lives possibly a mile and a quarter from this project, downwind from it, in a low spot, and sound does travel in the low spots. I live 2 miles probably from the project. I hear trucks from over at the tank farm. I hear the train go through White Earth. I hear work over rigs that are I got one right now up a quarter of a mile from my place, and I hear them over there working. I hear pumping units. I don't know how noisy your project's gonna be. I would assume some of it's gonna get my way, and I also believe it's gonna decrease the value of the Freisinger Family Trust land, and I believe it's gonna decrease the value of my personal property. And that's it.
Thank you. Okay, seeing nobody else, does anybody have any questions before I let Mr. Bennett sit down, before we turn it over to the board? Okay, I guess now is the time. Do you have anything to add quick?
Yeah, if I may, I just want to make sure that I want to get the commission comfortable with our plans, with our noise, as well as anybody with comments. So we're here to answer questions. We do believe that we're coming at this very thoughtfully with a better technology that is not very noisy. It's much different than kind of data centers you see today. So we're here to answer questions. We want to be helpful in this process, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. We don't run out, we might have questions. I guess we'll turn it over to the board. What are the wishes from the board?
I'd make a motion to approve the appeal, allowing them to concurrently submit a zone change CUP and variance application for 1 mile reduced setbacks from sensitive properties and the 3 mile reduced setback from a possible data center directly to the west.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Moved and second, discussion.
I think it's important to note that this is just, they still have to go through the public approval or public hearing process. And so this is, there's plenty of opportunity for people to be able to share their concerns.
Yes, and either Steve or Cameron, you want to go ahead and lay that out as far as the steps. I'm assuming Cameron will be the one, but explain what this approval is.
Sure. Today is just allowing them to apply for a conditional use permit for the specific operations of a data mining facility. During that application period, staff would make sure that they have all the required information that our ordinance requires. Once we see that information is complete, then it would get scheduled for a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. In between that, we also solicit the township for comments, and we also send out 1 mile notification, and we also advertise in the Wilson Herald about the possible project. It would go to the Planning and Zoning Board for a hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board will either approve, deny, or they will table the item to seek more information. If it is approved or denied by the Planning Board, it would still move forward to the County Commission for final approval or denial. The only thing that would delay that is for a table by the Planning Commission to gather further information, but they would give direction on what they would be looking for. But it'd eventually make its way back to the County Commission.
What kind of time frame would that take, Cameron?
Typically, the longest period would be waiting for the applicant to provide us with all the required information in the ordinance. Once we receive that, we wait at least 30 days to hear back from the township. Sometimes the townships get back to us quicker, but we have to wait that minimum 30 days. So overall, I'd say 60 to 90-day period from once we receive the application to the final date in front of the County Commission. Unless it gets tabled by the Planning Commission, we can't really control that or see what would happen there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Cameron, I just thought of, so the other property directly to the west of it, so they got the appeal to go ahead and try to get everything approved. Will they have to back up now and then ask for the 3 mile one for just in case because of this one?
So, no, they wouldn't, because when we have these come through, we can only look at what's in front of us at that time, and then we hold it to those standards. Similar to if somebody was possibly wanting to build a home near that facility, unless there's a building permit pulled or approval done, we can't, as staff, we just can't look at that. Doesn't mean it's not a legitimate concern, and they couldn't bring it to the commission, but we can only look at what's in front of us.
Right, well, so just for, just if both were approved, but this gentleman has the CUP within the 3 miles, but the other one wouldn't, would they have to go back through and do that also, or would that just be because they were there first, they wouldn't have to?
They wouldn't have to go and restart the process. What we would do is they would concurrently apply for a variance, so that variance would cover the setback for the 1 mile. However, because their application is nearly complete, they wouldn't have to redo that for the 3 mile because if approved today, we don't have an application for a CUP from this outfit.
Okay, thank you, Cameron. Any other discussion or questions from the board?
I guess my concern is we have a residence within the mile, and that's what our ordinance says, that they should not have any residences within a mile, correct?
Correct, from exterior boundary of the property to the exterior boundary of the sensitive property.
And the other one that was approved is that little square just to the west, is that correct?
The 2 parcels, yes, the square to the west, and that was approved on September 17th, 2024, the appeal portion of it by this board.
Is there any inhabitants of that ID Trust property down to the southeast?
I'm not familiar enough with if those homes are inhabited or not.
Barry's saying no, there's no one that lives there, Bo. Yeah. Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, we currently have a motion that has been seconded on the floor. Excuse me, we already have a motion and a second on the floor, so I guess go ahead and introduce yourself. Please make it brief.
Bill Bergstrom. I live within eighth of a mile of the coin machine that they're talking about.
How close, did you say?
Yes, 1/8 of a mile.
1/8 of a mile?
Yes.
Guys, somebody's gonna have to show me that one.
No, it ain't 3/4. It's not even.
Yeah, I know. He can bring it up here.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
I would not like to not have it done for that simple reason. And I won't approve it myself or my family because they will eventually inherit it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we are back to the motion and second. If there is no further discussion, roll call vote, Beth?
Bo,
No.
Chris,
No.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
No.
Steve.
Yes.
Motion failed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, now we are on to planning and zoning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michelle Hogan with County Planning. First item we have today is LU-0077-24, which is Ed Rintamaki on behalf of 3 Moss LLP. They're requesting a variance for 4 newly created lots that do not meet the minimum required acreage to remain in the agricultural zoning district. This is located in Government Lot 1, which is the northwest, and Government Lot 2, which is the southwest of the northwest of Section 18, 15598, and the east half of the northeast less parts of Section 13, Township 155, Range 99 West. This lies in both Brooklyn and Springbrook Township, and both have recommended approval on this item. The applicant is requesting a minor subdivision that will create 5 lots. This was originally proposed as a 3-lot minor subdivision. However, with where the township district lines fall, they had to adjust it for it to be 5 lots. The parent parcels are approximately 136 acres total. The newly created lots will be 33.40 acres, 9.03 acres, 5.64 acres, 28.77 acres, and 59.47 acres. The larger lot will remain in the agricultural zoning district, while the applicant is requesting the variance for the 4 smaller lots to also remain in that agricultural zoning district. Purpose of this minor subdivision is to separate the parcels in which the home is located and the pasture land from the tillable portion of the property. Access to the newly created lots are off 123rd Avenue Northwest, which is also known as County Road 42. This minor subdivision is going through the review process with the appropriate county departments, and the lots will be known as MS 24-0054, 0055, 0056, 0058. Recordation of the plat will be contingent on the variance approval. Planning and Zoning Commission did hear this item on November 21st and did recommend approval.
Is the applicant present? I do not believe so. Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the request for variance.
Following the recommendations of planning and zoning?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
Well, second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Beth.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, so the next one we have today is LU-0079-24, which is Brett and Alicia Ines on behalf of Beth Ines. They are requesting a conditional use permit to add an additional single-family residence on the subject property. Property is within the rural residential zoning district. It's located on lots 15 and 16 of A&F First Subdivision, which is Section 9, Township 155, Range 100 West, which is Farron Township, and they recommended approval on this. The applicant is requesting the conditional use permit to place an additional single-family residence on the property. Current home on the property is owner occupied by Beth Ines. The second home would be brought in and placed by the owner's son and daughter-in-law to live in and be available to help care for the property. Access to the subject property is off of 133rd Avenue Northwest, which is also known as County Road 9.
Is the applicant present?
Kind of.
Kind of. Do you have anything to add? No? Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
I make, go ahead.
I'd make a motion to approve following staff comments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
You want relatives that close, Beth?
Roll call, please.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, so the next item we have is LU-0080-24, which is Dallas Lalum, who is requesting a conditional use permit to open and operate a retreat center within the rural residential zoning district. This is located in Sublot 1, which is in the southwest-northwest of Section 1, Township 157 North, Range 95 West, being in Tioga Township. They did recommend approval on this one. The applicant is requesting the conditional use permit to open and operate the retreat center within the rural residential zoning district. The retreat center will consist of an existing bed and breakfast and an event/community center. The bed and breakfast home on the property is currently being occupied by the owner's son until their housing is complete. The event community center is in a converted Quonset located on the property and can be utilized to host graduation parties, birthday parties, small wedding receptions, and other various events. The applicant has had plumbing for bathrooms and a small kitchenette area installed within the building. The conversion of the Quonset began because of the need to make repairs after a storm to make it usable, then transformed into a place for the applicant to have friends over, to have coffee and play cards, to where the idea is today. The applicant has been working with the state on obtaining the proper permitting through them. Access to the subject property is off of 103rd Avenue Northwest. When Planning and Zoning heard this item on November 21st, they did recommend approval.
I don't believe the applicant is present on this one.
Nope, he called me yesterday. There was a medical emergency. They were flying his sister out at 8 o'clock this morning, so I do have his number if there's quite something that comes up that we want to question, but it seems to be kind of straightforward, but.
What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve this conditional use permit as per the recommendations of staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, Beth?
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Motion carried, and I guess we'll just be waiting for the first pinochle tournament.
Okay, so the last item today was SP-0075-24, which was Richard Hubner and family. However, yesterday we did get a written letter from Mr. Hubner wishing to withdraw his application from further review.
Okay, so that means you're done. Thank you. We're gonna go down to reports of department heads. Beth, looks like you're up first.
As you can see, I have some deeds that need to be signed from the tax sale. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that needs to be signed that we sold at the tax sale. And you should have them in your packets.
And you need a motion to authorize the chairman to sign them?
Yes, please.
Can we make that all in one?
I don't see why not.
I would make a motion to have the chairman sign the tax deeds.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Steve?
Yes.
Bo?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes. Motion carried.
The second
Oh, you
thing
have more.
I have is the Williams County sale proceeds for 2024. If you'd look at that. We did have a situation where you'll see in white, that property was bid on and it did not sell. The person did not come in and pay by 4 o'clock that day. So we have contacted the city of Ray, and they were gonna meet last night on it. Tioga. And they were gonna meet last night and discuss this parcel. We haven't gotten anything from them unless Brenda has something. And Brenda, if you wanna come up, you can explain what we got from legal on what they have options to do.
So since our gentleman didn't show up to pay for this property, I did contact Karen and had her make sure that we were correct on the options that we would have. First option would be we could keep the property, which would mean we then would have to put it on our insurance and sell it at the next tax sale. We could sell it before the next annual tax sale at a private sale for not less than the minimum bid price. And that also could go to the city of Tioga that way, or we could sell the property to the city of Tioga at any cash price agreed to by the Board of County Commissioners. I did get a hold of Veronica in the city of Tioga, and she was going to present this to their city commission last night. I did check my email this morning. I did not have anything back from her yet on what their decision was on if they were interested in purchasing this property. So we figured we would give you guys a heads up that this is going to be on the next commission meeting to make a final decision on how we want to proceed further with this property.
Sounds pretty simple.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Lindsay.
Good morning. I have 2 items for you today. The first is the opioid settlement update in the state allocation plan. It's almost exactly a year ago when I brought to you our initial plan, which was a general overview of the settlements that the county was participating in and our beginnings of the partnership working with the Upper Missouri District Health Unit and Northwest Human Service Center. Again, the state allocation plan is something that the state of North Dakota requires as part of the overall opioid national settlement and kind of things that trickle down from settlement requirements and then also Century Code changes through the last legislative session. So we've been working over the past year to get an updated one, working jointly with the city of Williston. During this time, it was also determined that they were in the same settlements that we were. And then we're working to get this plan to the state prior to the legislative session starting. So then that way input can help go into working on behavioral health needs. The details of the plan are included with this cover sheet with 3 priority areas that were identified, which were awareness, prevention, training, and treatment services. It's important to note that the plan cannot necessarily address all elements of opioid remediation and abatement because we have limited settlement funds. Right now, we have about $140,000. That was part of our strategy also over the past year or so, accumulating an amount of dollars that would make sense to actually spend. And then we're still working on the specific spend plan and just working on how much things cost and how then also the flow of dollars would go. The details and the nuances of all of that, the state does not require, they just require this allocation part. And so happy to answer any questions that you might have. But again, presenting this for you today for your approval, and then we'll be able to send this along to the state of North Dakota.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Lindsay? Somebody's got to have something, a real tough one. If not, can we get a motion?
I would move to approve the spend plan as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, Beth?
Bo,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And the second item is the extension of our weather radar maintenance contract. When we purchased the radar in 2019, had it commissioned in 2020, it came with a pretty comprehensive 5-year maintenance plan, and that's what includes our annual on-site maintenance visit. Due to logistics and communication and a variety of different things, unfortunately, we weren't able to get the confirmation of our next 5-year schedule, the quote, and all of the things in time for the budget cycle. So that's why this is coming to you at this point. So to be able to extend that maintenance contract for an additional 5 years, it'll be a little over $98,000 total. When I was rereading it this morning, I was like, it kind of reads like it's $98,000 per year. No, $98,210 for 5 years, and then it's billed annually. So then in February of each year, we pay that year installment. And again, that's our online support, our software support, product support, and then the technical, they come out once a year and tune it up for us, and those types of things. So seeking approval of the quote, we've worked with both Helen and Christy to determine that the funds would be available for that. So looking for acceptance of the quote and then authorization for the chairman to sign terms and conditions once we finalize those.
So we're basically at 20, just under 20 grand a year.
Yes.
That makes
Yep.
a pretty big difference.
Yeah, so it'd be $19,642 a year.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right, can we, what are the wishes of the board?
Make a motion to approve that maintenance extension contract for the weather radar.
Is there a second?
Authorized chairman to sign.
Yeah, I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call?
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was there any other department heads that I missed? Helen, come on down.
If only it was the Price is Right. Good morning. I do have two things for you. So I have our typical position report, but then I have some recommendations for additional reorganizing. When we have a new commissioner on the board, we typically shuffle up the portfolios a little bit. So I've done some work ahead of time, and I'll hand that out in a minute. We have we have a couple changes that matter, but I would just report to you, remember a few months ago, I said, man, we have a lot of open positions. Well, now we have 7 or 8 people starting, new employees starting in the month of December. So we've been doing interviews and filling them. So the approved and filled list continues to get shorter, even more than what you see reflected here. But I would add 2 positions on the approval side. We have an adolescent care attendant position we're seeking approval for, but also a victim advocate in the state's attorney's office, and also an administrative assistant there. So permission for those 3 positions to be filled.
Okay. What are the wishes?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call?
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, so what you have in front of you. What you have in front of you is our normal portfolio chart. The piece of paper in the front is my proposed for your review, but on the second page are our current assignments. So let me just walk through the details here. Then I did give you a piece of paper with some suggested motions, just to help make sure that we got Chris appointed to the things we needed him appointed to before the end of the day here. So part of what we do with portfolios is we try and provide each department with a commissioner assigned as a portfolio. It was actually Commissioner Montgomery who really pushed this process many years ago, probably 16 years ago. We think that it works well if one of you gets a call about a department that somebody else has the portfolio for, you know which county commissioner to call because maybe he, in our case all he's here, has some idea, some deeper understanding of what's happening in that department. We have an understanding with department heads that they would get in touch with their portfolio commissioner and in modern times now, the county administrator, to make sure that if there's something going on in their department, they have one point of contact. They don't have 5 commissioners or wonder which one to call. They call their assigned portfolio commissioner. So you'll see some of the changes that we made here were to assign Commissioner Wallstead a variety of departments that allows him to sort of jump in. We would expect he'll make contact with those 4 department heads. And then there's a couple of boards. If you see the column that has Ds and Ms, for my counting, that was departments and meetings or boards, just to make sure that we had sort of an equal balance of what we have going on. There are a couple of positions that are specific to the chairman. So for example, the Joint Powers Board for Airport Hazard Area. I don't know that that's ever had a meeting, but it specifically says it's the chairman and it's the commissioner who's on the Planning and Zoning Board. So as we have a chairman change, then there's a few things that sort of roll. This does reflect Commissioner Hansen's appointment as chairman today. What would you like me to do? We could talk through the details. I have talked to some department heads in the course of making these changes, and I did talk individually to a couple county commissioners to ask about preference and or opinion about taking something new on. You want me to read it off?
No, I don't think you need to. You guys, you can all read. Does anybody have a huge problem with? Yeah, well, if you need me to read the big words, I'll help you out. Does anybody have a huge problem with some of these changes? Because I mean, I think it looks pretty good. If you have something, throw it out now or forever hold your peace because you got a year of it.
Can I add one more thing? Sorry. Two things. First, part of our goal with portfolios has always been to divide up departments that could end up having a differing opinion on something. We try and not have the same commissioner be the portfolio commissioner for both of those. The idea being, and I look to Barry because he and I were actually involved in a fairly complicated mediation between departments some years ago. And so we like to have 2 commissioners in that conversation as well, instead of one commissioner who's trying to decide how to split up resources or time or whatever. The other piece is that this year, handled differently than in the past, the county administrator and our civil attorney are not listed specifically as a portfolio. Now, both of us need to get a performance evaluation, which is part of what being a portfolio commissioner means. And so we think we'll have the chair do those evaluations potentially, but we can figure that out toward the mid of the year. But because both Karen and I deal so specifically with each one of you, depending on which department we're working with, it seemed like maybe it was time to make that change.
I think one of the things that I would like to add there that we probably should look at throughout the year is the evaluation process. I feel comfortable doing it, but I think there needs to be somebody that's more day-to-day involved with it also. And I'm looking at you, Helen, because you're with Christy every day. And I meet with her 3-4 times in a month. I don't know that me specifically doing the evaluation by myself makes a lot of sense. I think having somebody that's more day-to-day, and I think we can talk about this throughout the year and maybe get something decided over the summer. But to me, I just think there's times you look at it and I'm not there every day. And I don't think they want me there every day. So.
We do like commissioners to be a little one step back.
Well, I just that was just a thought I've been having as I was doing evals again. This year it was a thought I had because there might be some stuff that I'm missing because I'm not here every day, and even if it's just a team effort on it, I think it would be better it would help us improve as a staff and a commission, in my opinion.
And the only thing I would add is, and I'm plumb okay with the proposed departments that I'd talked with Helen about, but the only thing I was gonna add was, if there's anybody else that would really like to be at the seat of the planning and zoning, or, I mean, I can still continue to do it, but I wanted to give you guys the opportunity.
I'm just getting you ready. I'm just getting you ready to hear the crickets because there's going to be a lot of yeah. But I appreciate you giving everybody the option. Is there someone that is dying to unseat Barry? Barry, Bo, you can look at us. Barry, I think you're. It's unanimous, and it's not. It's because you do a good job with it.
That's right.
Okay, do you want us to look at those motions, Helen, and make each one of them?
So the motions that I listed is, first, you would approve these portfolios to be effective today, and then through whatever next action the board would take to change them. Then, because of these changes that we make, there's just 4 additional motions we would need. The first is to appoint Steve Kemp to finish out Bo's term on the Tri-County Regional Development Council, but we do like to have an alternate for that, and they required in writing. We have previously had Lindsay. I think we would continue that. The next suggested motion is to appoint Chris to the Health Unit Board, which that seat actually is open 1/1/25, so we just do that. And then to appoint Chris to fill 2 of David's unfilled terms also.
Okay, we probably want to do all these separately, I assume.
I think so.
Okay. What are the wishes, gentlemen?
Make a motion to approve portfolio assignments as presented, effective December 3rd, 2024, until changed by action of the Williams County Commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call, Beth?
Corey?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Bo?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Motion carried. And we can keep moving along.
Make a motion to appoint Steve Kemp as a primary and Lindsay Herman as the alternate to the Tri-County Regional Development Council to fill out Bo Anderson's unexpired term ending December 31st, 2024, and the 1-year term of January 1, 2025 to December 31st, 2025.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call?
Steve?
Yes.
Bo?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes. Motion carried.
I'd make a motion to appoint Chris Wallstead to the County Commission seat on the Upper Missouri District Health Unit Board for a term of 1/1/2025 through 12/31 of 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call?
Bo?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
I would make a motion to appoint Chris Walsted to fill David Montgomery's unexpired term of 3/21/23 to 3/20/26 or 20 or 206 is what my paper
Oh,
says, but
sorry.
to
trick.
26 on the Tuition Appeals Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Chris is gonna be busy.
None of us feel bad for Chris. Roll call, please.
Chris,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Motion carried. One final one.
I would make a motion to appoint Chris Walsted to fill David Montgomery's unexpired term of 6/10/2023 to 6/9/2026 on the Williams County Park Board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Barry,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bo,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Great, I'll get a copy of that portfolio list out to all of you, but also out to all of the departments so that they know of the changes.
Perfect. Thank you. And with that, 9:06 and 50 seconds, we are adjourned.
I have many things for you to sign, sir. You got that one thrown in on you.